Hello and welcome. This is Annette Capri, the founder and CEO of the Quantum Dojo, and today we're going to do some videos each week talking about some really specific things that we found come up in the week with our clients. And one thing that was kind of quite predominant for a lot of people is whether you are going for 6K, multi 6K, 7K, seven figures, whatever the thing is. Sometimes if people take a grand total, it's often about breaking it down into a chunk and then how we kind of achieve that chunk and then how we kind of rinse and repeat it. So I want to go through a quick way to do just that based on a challenge I set somebody the other day. So it was something where they were looking at the bigger picture and they were kind of creating some of the bits and pieces in terms of like a group coaching program and things that they already had. And it was a case of leveraging something that they'd already done with a few other people and then how we can do that a bit better. I apologize for the disruption there, so I'll just switch that off. Forgot to switch it off before. So what we want to do, I always set challenges for the simple reason inside the dojo we work in groups of 3, so 3, 6, 9, 12 and so on. 3 is just a bit of a magic number for us, and it's really good to chunk things down, because if we look at 90 days, 3 months, if we look at the next 3 weeks, if we look at the next 3 days, it gives you a little bit of sort of scope on what your focus is and where you want to see the KPIs, you know, where you want to see some metrics and data coming in. So some of you will have seen this formula before, kind of why, who, what, when. And if you know that formula, you know that I've deliberately written it in a different order. Often it can be like, you know, who, what, when, why. It can be a little bit different. And I'm going to start it off in this particular way because I want to really focus in on the big why. So first of all, why are you wanting to create a conscious business? Why do you want to work with people more on a conscious basis? And also, why is it that you know, your offer is going to be really good, and why is it that people would want to work with you on it? The why cannot be emphasized enough as of importance, because when we say align, aspire, ascend, we're always talking about the inner alignment. And I will do this quite a lot with people because I'm looking at how we can kind of create a stack to begin with. Some of you might have offers that go horizontally, some of you might have a stack vertically, but I'm always kind of doing this because I'm looking at alignment first and foremost. And what we want to really focus on here is, you know, what the why is. So the first thing to write down is your why, your big why about the mission and what you want. Okay, who, we're going to look at who this appeals to, who wants it, who do you think would benefit the most from it. The what is going to be what your offer consists of and composes of, and so on and so forth. And then the when is obviously we're gonna give it some dates. So let's say we're working on a bit of a deadline and somebody wants to create sort of 10K. So the 10K is the first step to 100. I just picked 10 because I do know some people have like a 10K program. So they'll go, okay, I need 10 people to sell a 10K program to, and I've got my first 100K. Some people might say, okay, well, I've got a $500 kind of offer, and everybody's different. So I'm just going to use 10K, and obviously you can divide that down into whatever your particular offer is. And then also don't underestimate that pricing and positioning are also a huge part of this. But obviously for the sake of this video, I'm just going to do it as a little bit generic in the sense of we can't obviously break down every price point. So once we're really clear here on what our why is, so that is for us, and that is for them as well, and then it becomes a we, so it's us. So overall, what is usually the biggest kind of why for us can be carried forward in the mission, that why is important for the other person as well as, so that should again bring some alignment in, and that should actually work. Okay, the who. Now I had a really interesting conversation with somebody yesterday, and they said, oh, I really struggle with the marketing thing of like avatars and personas, where we've got to say, oh, we work with, you know, Sue, who's 32 and she's married with 2 kids and she shops here and does that. And I said, yeah, because the problem with that is it's a lot of very standard generic marketing. And really, when we look at frequency and vibration and energy, it's often about the vibe of the person. So what I mean by that is you can walk into a room and go, oh, I feel great here. Or you can walk into a place and go, doesn't feel so good. You can also do that with people. You either kind of immediately vibe with somebody or you don't. So from our perspective of consciousness, in the way that we would look at that, it's the same sort of thing. So you can actually create the who as more of an energetic. So what I mean by that is describing, okay, so the person that I want to work with is somebody who, let's say you're doing some sort of coaching, then you're going to say, I want somebody who's really open-minded, you know, they've kind of got like a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. There is somebody who is really, really interested in their constant evolution and improvement and so on and so forth, as opposed to, you don't want to be trying to share that with people who are already like, yeah, I know it all, I've got it all, I'm just not interested. So you can kind of create a bit of an energetic blueprint around that. When we look at the what, very specifically, once we've kind of worked out, you know, what our why is, why they would want to work with us, why we want to work with them, what that kind of energy is, and then we can go into the what. We want to look at, I'm just going to use a 2K price point because it's really standard, basic and easy. So if I had a $2,000 price point for a group or a few weeks of coaching or whatever the case may be, I want to look very specifically of the value in that and the delivery. And so what I mean there is like, sometimes what people, I'm going to say, suffer with is that we feel like, oh, I know I can help this person and they can have this, this, and this. So from your perspective, that seems like a really, you know, great offer. It seems like, oh my God, why would they not want it? Sometimes you can present that to people and they're a bit like, meh, they're not really that pulled and called to it. And it's because we've done it from our viewpoint, not theirs. So I know a lot of marketing talks about pain points, but the reason that is because it's always about seeing it through the lens of the other person and not you. I like to do both, and I like to do like a P&P, which is more about pain and pleasure, meaning, yes, we want to know what is it that person's needing some help and support with right now, but also what's going to push them into a point where if they do it, they're getting more of what they want and less of what they don't want. So two ways to look at that is, you could say something along the lines of, okay, so this particular person's, their energy and everything is focused around their, let's just pretend it's some sort of coach, an empowerment coach, say, and they feel that they're stuck. And so they're not processing all that pain and they're stuck. So that particular person might be able to go, okay, well, I can help you get out of the pain, but also we want to go over here to the pleasure, which is the aspiration, and go, okay, but we're not just going to transmute pain and make you feel a little bit better, because whilst that's got, you know, some point to it, it can sometimes not often be enough of an aspiration to move somebody into action. So therefore we want to say something like, okay, so not only are we going to tackle this that's inside there from a pain perspective, we're actually going to move you through and transmute that into some sort of transformation and connect you to something that's, you know, kind of that you aspire to do, or so on and so forth. I also know from a spiritual perspective, and I'm going to throw this one in as a bit of a sort of curveball, sometimes if you're dealing in a sort of spiritual market, like I said to somebody the other day, what was kind of the aspiration around the business, and they said, I don't have any aspirations, I'm spiritual, everything's zen, everything is as it should be. And I was like, okay, all right, fine. But then when I asked a different question, and I said, okay, cool, so you're helping people doing that, how are you creating more impact? How are you reaching more people? Once we turn the question around and turn their thinking around, then they were able to go, I'm actually not doing the amount of impact that I would like, and some of the things I've got aren't actually working. So for them, two of these things were now doing this, they weren't doing this. So meaning from their spiritual center point, they were where they needed to be, and everything is as is meant, and it was all very zen. But at the same time, I might personally not have an external kind of aspiration because I'm spiritually present and mindful, but come to think of it, what I've got digitally is not really connecting with people, and it's not really bringing anybody in, and it's not really doing anything. And actually, when I think of it, it would be nice to help more people. So I'm saying that because sometimes you have to think about perspectives. Perspective is a huge thing. I just sort of put the word up here. So remember not to discount that and think. I remember many years ago, I might be going back about 20 years ago now, so it was a chunk of cash at the time, and I remember doing the Zen perspective training with somebody where we was already in this kind of mastermind, and everyone had paid, I don't know, 20,000-30,000 to be a part of it. And then there's like a breakout group where this guy said, I'll do a bit of kind of like Zen perspective work. It's a couple of grand and you come in for the hour. So there's only about 7 or 8 takers out of about 100 people in the room. And I did that training because what I was really interested in was a 360 perspective, viewpoint and lens, because you've got to remember all of us come from our own perspective, lens and viewpoint. And when you are the creator of something, you are getting excited about it. It doesn't always mean somebody else will. So we have to, this is why sometimes in generalized marketing, they'll talk about pain points or this and that and the other, which some people feel is a bit contrived, but actually what it's doing is looking at their perspective, if that makes sense. So now we need to start figuring out, okay, so we understand the energy of this person, we understand kind of where their pain and pleasure lies in terms of this is where they're stuck, this is where they would rather be. Now we need to understand, okay, so what could we deliver to them that is actually going to meet those things with them and create an emotional resonance, create something from the heart where they're like, yeah, I really want to do this. Because I tell you the key thing here, when we talk about sharing and offering rather than marketing and sales, the problem, the reason why sales gets bad press is because people think sales and selling is about pushing and manipulating and controlling and kind of, trampling on somebody till they submit. And it's actually the opposite. Selling really, when we do marketing and sort of sharing and offering, the sharing part really should be about listening and talking about all these different stories, and then in the offering first and foremost should again be listening. And when I say listening, for me personally, I'm listening in terms of I'm looking at what the person's got, I'm listening to what they're telling, and then I'm connecting from a heart-centric energetic perspective, and I'm taking the whole of them in so that we get a really good 360 holistic picture, so that if there comes a point of offering, we know, okay, right, I've really got the sort of soul essence of this person, so therefore I think this is going to be a really good fit. And this is why you want to do a lot of these things before you even get on a call with somebody, because the thing is, when we get to this when part, we need that person really at that stage to be really connected, and then the when should then come from them, meaning it should be like going, okay, so when's this start, how much is it, what do we get to do? And once we're at that point, we're able to fill in the blanks and go, okay, so let's just take a 2K thing. I'm just going to pretend this is 8 weeks of one-on-one coaching. It doesn't really matter for this particular video what that is. But then I'm able to say, okay, so that's great. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this, and this, and we're going to help you. And then over the next sort of 6 or 8 weeks, we're going to do this, and then that'll help with that. And then we'll create this, and we're going to meet each week on a Zoom call, and I'm going to send you some things to do in between. And then it's a $2,000 price point, and included in that you get, the calls and the workbook and this and that, and then we package it up. But what I'm trying to say from there is when we're breaking down something like a 10K target that we want to get in the next 30 days or whatever you set the time frame for, we have to get really drilled down. So the first thing to do when we're looking at, conscious business as a whole is remember that impact and income are synonymous. They are both sides of the same coin, because sometimes people feel like, oh, if I'm being conscious, then, you know, can I charge, can I not charge? And they don't know how to price and structure things. Then if they go into a business mode, then they can go sometimes a little bit too pushy. So the thing is, what you've got to always remember with this, it's a balance. It's a balancing act between coming from the heart and soul and being true and serving and authentic and sovereignty. And the reason why, you know, a lot of times when I talk about Bushido is because Bushido is very much like, my word is my bond and my honor and my integrity. So therefore, if people can understand that about you, you're going to drive that trust and faith more in them, because you are coming from a heart-centered space, and you're also not pushing anything and everything onto people. Because actually, you know, when we're looking at these offers, sometimes it isn't a good fit for them. Sometimes they're not at that right stage. So you don't want to be making that offer, because two things are going to happen. One, they're going to want a refund, and two, you're going to have an unhappy person. And for three, if anybody's ever experienced it, if you enroll people into something that's not really a great fit all round for you or them, they can often become a really difficult person to work with. So you don't really want that. So if we just go back up here, and I'm trying to keep this like nice and condensed, so we'll go into more details on another one, but I just wanted to say, if we're looking for 6, you can insert your number here. So if you're at 100 and you're doing 250 or 5 or 7, it's really not that the point. But we're looking at, okay, so we've got a target growth here. We're going to take one slice of it, and then we're going to divide it down into these pieces. Now, of course, there's a lot more to it. If you've seen some of our other videos, we'll talk about everything from messaging and audience and program creation and so on and so forth. And that's not really for this video, but I just want to talk about setting yourself like a challenge, and whatever the time frame is. So this could be 10K in 30 days. It could be whatever you set the challenge for. But what's really important in being able to achieve it is, one, you have to be aligned to it and believe it. So that's a whole part of like the inner alchemy side. So you've got to be in alignment and harmony that this is doable for me. I can do it, and I am going to do it, or I have done it before, so I can do it again. Whatever the sort of the issue is for you. And then we need to get really deep on our whys, because the thing is, the more deeper you are on your why, the more you'll understand somebody else's why. And that's really, really important. And then we want to get into this kind of like energetic flavor, the essence of who they are. Then we want to get whatever it is that we're dealing for them, what actually is the program, how we're pricing it, pricing and positioning it. And then obviously the when is when is that going to be available? When is it going to get going? Now, when I recently set a challenge for somebody, they was wanting to kind of come into a higher program, and they wanted to kind of generate some cash flow pretty quickly. So what we did in that particular instance, which is something you can do, is you can look at your track record and go, okay, I've sold this before, so therefore I can do it again. What do I need to do right now to create a little bit of a cash flow boost so that I can then meet my next level of investment or program or mentor or whatever it is? And the reason why that's really important is because there's always going to be growth. There's always going to be this constant evolution between where you are and the next level and the next level and the next level and the next level. And you need to be skin in the game, just the same as your clients are. And I've always been a big believer in this, in terms of from a dojo perspective, that we have to be. So if you're a coach, a healer, a consultant, a musician, an artist, whatever you are, that you need to be constantly having people in your team, in your corner, in the same way that you would then be teaching to the next level, if that makes sense. So if we look at these belt levels, I remember being, I don't know, maybe it was like green belt or something, and one of my instructors said to me, well, you can go and teach these people whatever belt they were, white, yellow, whatever. And I remember being a bit like, oh my God, how can I teach them? And they was going, well, you're a higher belt than them, aren't you? And I was like, well, yes. And they're like, okay, so do you know something? I was like, well, yeah. I go, no, I don't know everything. And they were saying, well, there's a question. The question is, I'm not asking you, do you know everything? I'm asking you, do you know something? So then the point I'm making is each phase up meant you could teach something to the next level coming up. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that there's constant and never, we call it can-I in martial arts, constant never-ending improvement. So just because somebody hits black, which is where a lot of people quit, that's actually the start of the journey. So black actually to me represents the same as white. Yes, you know something, but you do not know everything, but you've got more of a perspective and understanding of what it is you don't know, because based on you do know something. And this is the same for conscious business. It's exactly the same, because at each level you're coming up, you're like, oh, okay, I'm learning that. Oh, I've learned that. I've learned this. I've learned that. It's a constant, never-ending cycle of improvement. So what I want to look at here, and next time I'm going to talk about systems, teams and things, which will be for the next video. But right now, I'm just going to pretend that you're on your own. You've set yourself a 30-day goal for the next 10K or 20K, whatever it is for you, and that you're looking for 6 figures. As I said, change it if you're on a different level. I just happened to have spoken to a bunch of people this week that were working towards their first 100K, and therefore it kind of inspired me to go, okay, so let's really chunk that down. Because sometimes for somebody just saying to them, okay, so I've got this aspiration of 6 figures, multi-6, whatever it might be, then they sit there and they're very overwhelmed and there seems too many moving parts, and there doesn't need to be. The key things are getting these down, and then the next thing, and I'll do a whole video on that, is going to be from although I'm calling it marketing here, remember this is sharing and offering. But to start off with, in your sharing and offering, you want to look at, who do I already know? Who's already in my circle? Who's already worked with me before? And you want to go out to those people and you want to say something like, this is what I've got, I'm working on at the moment, I'm working on that. This is what I have at the moment. I was just wondering, based on the fact that you've worked with me, do you know anybody else that you think might benefit from this? Now, be very clear that you're not asking them to sell you, sell the program, sell anything. You're asking them, so let's get this energetic thing again. You're giving them a list of, okay, so I'm working with people at the moment that have got these kind of pain points, that kind of want to reach these kind of pleasure points. And I've got something that helps them do from this and this and this, and so on and so forth. And who do you know that might fit that description? And then you can do Facebook Lives, you can put social media out, you can actually really make it very centric towards one thing. And for you, you know, if you've got a 5K program or a 10K 6-month program or whatever it might be, you might be looking for one person, you might be looking for 3, you might be looking for 4, you might be looking for 10. Doesn't really matter. What matters is really honing in and getting acute focus and clarity on who that person, that their energy, what it is, and what it is that you're looking for. So I hope that's kind of a good start on this sort of challenge. I'm going to come back to it another time, and we will also dig in a little bit more onto the marketing side. As ever, if you ever need any help and support on any of those things, just drop us a line, limitless at the Quantum Dojo, like and share our post, join our Conscious Business 6 Figures and Beyond group. Please do ask us any questions. We are, you know, the point of being conscious is to be generous. And one of the things that we do a lot is we jump on, you know, calls with people all the time, and we're always giving out help, advice, tips, whatever. So it's not some sort of massive sales pitch fest, because that's really, as I've just explained on there, you shouldn't need to be doing that. It is just about sharing and offering and helping people where they are. They make the decision. They make the decision for themselves. Yeah, I really want to work with these people, or no, I don't. And you, as long as you've provided enough value and genuine authenticness of who you are and what you do and where you've come from. I'm not going to start, this is quite a long video, so I don't really want to start going into my story this second, but I shall do that on another one. But when people can really connect with you, then they're going to make their mind up for themselves. So let's set some challenges. We're at the beginning of March still, so you've got the whole of March to hit some kind of impact and income targets, and see how many people we can help there and what kind of conscious ripple we can create in the world. So until next time, have an awesome day, week, and the rest of the month, and I'll catch you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.